What is going on, everybody? It's the Franz, and we're here for Unscripted episode number 132 for August the 16th, 2020. We are on our road to SummerSlam being next week. WWE finally getting out of the Performance Center, and so much more this week. Let's get into what we need to talk about. WWE. Rumors came out earlier this week that WWE is getting out of the Performance Center. Vince McMahon does not want SummerSlam to be in the PC like WrestleMania and every other pay-per-view. He's sick and tired of his big pay-per-views that he wants to put on being in this closed-off space. So where is WWE going? WrestleVotes, of course, getting on this first, has come out with the fact that it's going to be in Orlando, Florida, the Amway Center, where the Orlando Magic play. Now, they tried to get to Atlantic City in New Jersey. That fell through, typically how it was going to go. But the Amway Center is the location. John Albert of My News 13 is reporting WWE has signed the agreement with the Amway Center to run through October 30th. No fans are allowed in the building, meaning WWE will likely not be able to do events with a live audience until at least that date. Which, the thing of it is, with the fact that it's the Amway Center, and the Amway Center is pretty big, and it's way bigger than WWE's been doing at the Performance Center, it's between now and October 30th. Things can change to where WWE's like, well, we can get friends and family in here, like AEW this past Wednesday. They had fans, in quotation marks, fans in the crowd. It wasn't actually fans. You had to know somebody who worked in AEW, and you had to sign a waiver to be allowed in the arena. So, and they had to follow social distancing. If you were a group, say like you knew John Moxley and you brought your family with you, you would be set somewhere where everyone else would be moved around. So that was AEW starting to bring people in. WWE before attempted to bring friends and family into the Performance Center. You got one episode of Raw and I think one episode of SmackDown done that way. And then the news came out that there was a female Performance Center person who was like just a PC talent, contracted COVID-19. And this is before WWE decided, well, we're going to start testing, which did not happen until after this happened. And then they got testing done, and countless people got hit with coronavirus. John Moxley missed an episode or two, the Fighter Fest tapings because his wife contracted coronavirus. Kayla Braxton apparently got it back again after having it earlier this year. And it was just a bad scene overall for everybody. So, eventually, with how things are going, we could see, like, regular fans can't be there, but friends and family could eventually be there. Previous report, WWE hoping they could restart the live event schedule at the end of September, but with how the pandemic is unfolding in the U.S., which I hate when people just say how it's unfolding in the U.S. It's unfolding everywhere badly. I hate the fact that the media, the corrupt, biased media, who hates our president because they are biased against him, they're biased against anything like that, wants to put it out as like, we as the United States are the only ones having a terrible time at this coronavirus. Go look at Brazil. Go look at Mexico. If you look at this website called World Meter, it shows a count of everybody's like infections. It's their recoveries, their deaths, new infections, new deaths. They don't want to do new recoveries because let's not do that. But anyway, about a month ago, if you went down to the bottom of it, if one country is done with the coronavirus, whether they have no more cases, all cases are done, they would put green if there was they had the virus, but then everybody who had it recovered, they'd put a green bar. They would cover them in green. If they had full outcomes, they would put gray. Now, in the bottom half of this thing, there was at the very bottom, the bottom 20 of these countries, half of those, about a month and a half ago, were colored in either gray or green. If you look at it now, one or two of those countries might still be that way, maybe 3 or 4, but the rest of them have had case surges. China was at one time looking like they weren't getting any more cases, and then they started getting more cases. It doesn't matter what anyone wants to think. We are not the only country having these problems, and I'm getting sick and tired of the media lying to everybody. And it's like, we're the only ones who are having a catastrophe, or like having supposedly catastrophic results with all of this, when it's not just our country, it's everybody else. So that needs to be done. And of course, the plans are maintained. WWE has already begun loading into the Amway Center, where it will take future Raw, SmackDown, and pay-per-view events, including SummerSlam. WWE is reportedly expected to have virtual fans show up on large LED boards on the Amway Center. It is already confirmed next week's SmackDown is scheduled to be live at the Amway Center. Now, we do know on this past Friday, Michael Cole, multiple times during the show, mentioned how they're not going to be at the PC anymore. They're going to be at a different location. Of course, this episode of SmackDown was taped either Wednesday or Thursday this past week before it could be confirmed where this is going to be. Now, Monday Night Raw this week is not taped yet, and it's going to come from the Performance Center. They are not going to have it at the Amway Center this coming Monday. That's going to start on Friday. WWE is reportedly pushing for more live programming going forward in an attempt to increase dwindling TV ratings. NXT brand will not be impacted by the main roster move to the Amway Center, as the current plan is to be for the Black and Yellow brand to remain at the NXT Arena on campus at Full Sail University in Winter Park, Florida. Here's the deal. And Ryan Alvarez put this perfectly. Now, the Amway Center is definitely bigger, but say you have 500 tickets sold to a small arena, to a small venue, and it's standing room only. That's going to look like the hottest ticket in town, especially if it's on TV or something, and you see a small arena, but the entire place is stacked, intact, and like it's packed, and you can't, it's standing room only. And that's going to look like the best ticket in the town. Man, I want to go to this next event here because it's standing room only. Must be a hot ticket. But then you go to somewhere like the Amway Center, which is an NBA arena. Now, I believe, and don't quote me if I'm wrong, I believe, and this is what I think it could be, is that they're not going to be actually using the full Amway Center. I'm pretty sure the Orlando Magic have a practice facility built into the Amway Center, so that could possibly be where Raw and SmackDown is going to be from here on out. If they use the actual huge Amway Center, it's going to look awful. I don't care what they do. Now, the NHL have actually done something to take away from seeing empty seats. They have the playoffs going on in Toronto and Edmonton right now. And they've taken the initiative to cover up the seats. So when you're watching the hockey, when you're seeing the hockey players go out there and play and fight to try and win their games, and you look up, you don't see empty seats. You see NHL signs. You see other, it doesn't look like, it doesn't look like they are playing in an arena built with stands around. It looks like they're playing in a practice facility. It really does. So, and the reason I believe that the Amway Center has a practice facility built in, I could be totally wrong, is because the NBA has had Summer League in Orlando, and it's been hosted by the Orlando Magic. I'm pretty sure there's another section of the Amway Center where they have this practice facility that they use for the Orlando Summer League games. So that could be where they're at. If we come to Monday Night Raw or SmackDown next week, and it's not the big open arena, it's actually the practice facility, that would make more sense, because quite honestly, going to the big open arena and having zero it's like I said, if you have a small arena like the Performance Center and you pack that thing standing room only, in like they did the last episode of NXT when all this happened, that was on that Wednesday, I think it was March 11th or something. That night, NXT looked like a packed house, looked like one of the hottest tickets out there. 2 days later, you have SmackDown with nobody in the arena. And it would look like it looked awful for so long. And that first episode of SmackDown, I believe the first episode of Raw after we went to empty arena, they were doing the hard cam from the normal position that you usually would, and they would have chairs out there, so you would see these empty chairs, and it's like, this looks awful. Then AEW, of course, on the Wednesday after that, had their camera pointed at the Titantron, so you would not see the empty arena as much, which was the better way to do, and eventually WWE did that. So, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Amway Center. Now, is it going to make WWE's product better? It's going to sound a little bit better because it's going to be more, especially if they use the actual Amway Center, like the big arena where the Magic play, and not the practice facility. Yes, it's going to sound a little bit better because it's going to be more open. It's not going to feel stuffy in there. If they do crowd sweetening, it's going to sound a lot better. But the aesthetic of it is, it's not going to look great. Even if you do virtual fans, that's just not going to cut it. And like I said, they can bring you have, I'd say probably 20 to 30 performance center talent. I could be counting this wrong, but about 20 to 30 performance center talents at these performance center shows, cheering and acting like fans. Say WWE wants to bring friends and family in to give it a little bit more livelihood, because they said fans can't be there, but WWE can go around that and be like, these aren't fans, these are friends and family to our talent. That'd be the best way for them to go, in my opinion. So, it's not going to help the ratings whatsoever. It's actually, I think, going to do worse. And it's just gonna look bad, especially if they don't do the camera angle right and you're seeing all these empty seats. Now, if they cover the seats up like the NHL does, that will help alleviate the emptiness of the arena. Because, like I said, I just watched the Vegas Golden Knights take on the Blackhawks yesterday, and you see where all these seats should be, they're just covered. Like it's not like a sheet covering up some chairs. It looks like they actually made coverings for these, so it doesn't even look like there are any seats there, and they're playing these games in a practice facility. That's great. If WWE wants to go and do that and cover up these chairs, then they could put the card camera whichever way they want to, and it won't look as bad. They could put like a covering for the network, a covering for SummerSlam, a covering for Payback, which is going to be happening the week after. It's just, WWE needs to think of something that, like, the only way WWE is going to get people to want to tune in and give a damn about these shows, give us better storylines. Give us wrestlers and characters that we care about. Mustafa Ali makes his return a couple weeks ago. They put the return on YouTube. Highest views higher views than Underground, higher views than anything else that WWE has put on their YouTube channel in the last month. And yet this guy gets beat down by Bobby Lashley and then put on main event. I mean, how can WWE take a guy like Mustafa Ali and he gives you some of the biggest views on YouTube in forever, and then you do nothing with him? Shayna Baszler, badass woman, could be the next big star, the woman who takes the women's division to the next level. Loses at WrestleMania, doesn't even factor into the end of the women's ladder match at Money in the Bank, beats Natalya twice, and then disappears for over 2 months. Why? Because WWE and Vince McMahon doesn't give a shit. And then, on top of that, Shayna Baszler, twice this year, has looked like a fool, losing a Rumble or a Battle Royal type match. Like, this past Friday, Asuka won a second title shot at SummerSlam. Why? Why should she get another title shot? I just don't get it. It just makes no sense why you're going to continue to not push anybody. Except for, especially in the women's division. We all got tired of WWE just pushing Charlotte, giving Charlotte all the opportunities while others sat back and did nothing. Now, she's gone for a while, so what's WWE going to do? They push Bayley, Sasha Banks, and Asuka. Nobody else. Now, Asuka, the only thing that I want to see them do at SummerSlam, I would say do a, let me see here, Bret Hart, was it Bret Hart Lex Luger thing, where you had them both, no, let me think this way. No, what you should have is, if you're going to have Asuka win the championship, one of the two, she needs to win both, plain and simple. If anything, do a triple threat match between these two. Be like, listen, we have these two titles. Asuka won both opportunities. I don't know why she was given another opportunity when she already had one. That takes away opportunities from everybody else, and it's so stupid. Give me Bayley versus Tegan Nox. That would have been great. Give me Bayley versus Shayna Baszler. Oh, we don't want to do that because we know that Shayna Baszler isn't going to win. So what would be the what would be the point? Give me something other than Asuka versus these two women. I mean, look at the women's division on Raw. It's run by Asuka and Becky Lynch. And I'm not Becky Lynch, but Sasha Banks right now because she's champion. Shayna Baszler's not doing anything. Natalya is running around with Lana doing absolutely nothing. The Moronics are feuding with Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott. What else you got? I think that's everyone. Charlotte's off MRA because she had to have some elective surgery, getting her boobs fixed up again. On SmackDown, you have Bayley and Sasha Banks. Naomi's doing is directionless. Lacey Evans is supposed to be a heel, even though both the top women on SmackDown are heels. You have Tamina, who is useless. Dana Brooke, who I know she tries to be better tries to get better and tries to be a beacon of hope for others that she could do something. She's just not good enough. Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross seem to be splitting up because Alexa Bliss has moved on to be a piece of this Bray Wyatt Braun Strowman feud. Nikki Cross is going to be in the background. Let's see here. Carmella hasn't been here in 2 or 3 months. I don't know what else you want to see for the women's division. The women's division for Raw and SmackDown need to be merged. We need to have one championship, and we need to get rid of the other one. Then, if you want to have the women have another championship besides the tag titles and one women's championship, give them an Intercontinental or United States Championship. That's what you can do. One can be defended on Raw, the other one can be defended on SmackDown. Both Raw and SmackDown talent can feud for both titles. It's that simple. Same thing with the tag team division. The tag team titles need to be merged as well. You have the Viking Raiders, the Street Profits, and Andrade and Angel Garza for Raw. That is it. SmackDown right now, you have Miz and Morrison, Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro, and Lucha House Party. And Heavy Machinery whenever they feel like having Heavy Machinery be a tag team. That is it. Merge those all together, and you go from 4 and 3 to 7. Which is better. When the New Day come back, it would be 8. And when the AOP come back eventually, if they do, that'd be 9. When WWE gets over themselves and possibly put the Forgotten Sons back on TV because they should, that's 10. And still WWE would fuck it. Tag team division. And if you're going to merge the men's tag teams division, merge those titles and give us a real title belt, because my goodness, those titles look like toys. And it's just like the women, the Divas Championship back in the day when it was around. If I had a kid and we were walking around, he wanted a title from a WWE title that we'd find in the store, and there was a chance between the Universal Championship, the Intercontinental Championship, or the Tag Team Championship. It's either the Universal title or the Intercontinental title. That Tag Team title will be like, no, son, no, doubt it. Nope, you cannot have that title because that is a joke. But that is just me. Now, SmackDown, I missed this. I did not see this, and I saw it later. Apparently, WWE is teasing and flirting with TV14. At the beginning of this past Friday's SmackDown, fans may have noticed a slight change for the usual WWE TV rating. Going back to July of 2008, WWE made the move to have its TV program become predominantly PG-13. PG, not PG-13. But this past Friday's show was rated TV-14. We'll have to wait until next Friday to see if the rating remains the same for the blue brand, but it was fair to say that WWE is looking to shake things up as the ratings have declined for both Raw and SmackDown through 2020. Reportedly, WWE is headed to the Amway Center, as you know. Since the COVID-19 pandemic took hold, no fans can be allowed, and has held its shows and performance center since. WWE has currently already confirmed that next SmackDown SummerSlam Go Home episode will be live at the not at the Performance Center. Now, anybody who's like, oh, this is the Attitude Era coming back, this is going to be great for SmackDown, we don't know if any of this is going to be good. Just because you go to TV14 doesn't mean anything. AEW's TV14, AEW has been giving us compelling characters, storylines that make sense, not insulting our intelligence that much. Being better. Just because you go to TV14 doesn't mean a damn thing. Of course, TV14 means Braun Strowman can pick Alexa Bliss up and drop her where she sit, drop her on the floor on the mat. TV14 doesn't mean you're gonna see puppies or ass shots or crotch chops or like vulgar language. We don't know what we're going to see. I missed it. I don't pay no mind. I don't pay no attention really to the rating. But eagle-eyed viewers saw, whoa, it's TV14. What is that going to do for WWE though? How are they going to take advantage of TV14? Because honestly, at a PG level, you are handcuffed from doing a lot of things. You have to skip around things. You can't say certain things. You can't do certain things. If they were still PG-13, Braun Strowman would not be allowed to pick Alexa Bliss up like he did, hold her above his head, go to throw her, and then just drop her. So, and this whole retribution angle they're doing right now with these masked, Antifa terrorists coming around, causing havoc, breaking things, attacking people. They couldn't do this and make it and be on TV14, PG. It just makes no sense. That's not a PG thing. It's like TV13, TV PG, in my opinion, has kind of been antiquated for WWE. It's hurt them a lot. I know everyone's like, oh, well, they went to TV PG because Linda McMahon went and ran for, what was it, governor of Connecticut, I believe it was. That is part of the reason, but also because John Cena talked to Vince McMahon, and it was part of that as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with TV14 and what it does for WWE. It's going to open things up, but it is going to be good for WWE. It could be, it might not be. Who knows? Will all this help bring back the ratings? I don't think so. Going to TV14, in my opinion, is putting a Band-Aid over a much bigger problem. And until WWE figures out what that much bigger problem is, and instead of using a Band-Aid, gets out the stuff to be able to stitch that problem back together to where it's not going to be cut or ripped open anymore, this company is the shows are not going to get any better. Raw on the ground, Okay, so Monday Night Raw had its ratings. It was up a little bit. The first hour was up. The second hour, it dropped. The third hour dropped again. Raw Underground is a failure. If Raw Underground was not a failure and it was a hit and people wanted to see it, then when it went from the first hour being up, the second hour being down, the third hour would have been up. The third hour, if I'm correct, I don't have the numbers with me, the third hour this week was the same as last week. Does that mean they have a steady hold on the audience with the Raw Underground? I don't think so. I mean, if you think about it, Raw Underground this week was in the first 23 minutes of the 10 o'clock hour. After like 10:24, they were back to Monday Night Raw as a whole, and that was it. They didn't go back to Raw Underground. My question is, because what is the quarter ratings? If the Raw Underground quarter rating is up and then the rest of it just tanked completely, that might tell you a different story. But right now, for what we know, Raw Underground is a failure, and it's going to be a failure. And the fact that you had a former Titan, a legit MMA star or MMA fighter on there to face Shayna Baszler and act like she doesn't know what she's doing so Shayna Baszler can kill her is pathetic. The fact that WWE would go out of the way to hamper these women to make Shayna Baszler look good when Shayna Baszler doesn't need that help. WWE trying to get Shayna Baszler over this way is going to fail big time. But that's WWE for you. They don't think straight. They don't think right. They try to think in their own way that this is how we get somebody over. We're going to take somebody who has legitimate experience in fighting and have them act like, which it's pretty much like Joseph Park, aka Abyss, coming out there, and he knows how to wrestle. He's a really damn good wrestler, but then he has to go out there and pretend and act like he doesn't know a lick of wrestling. He's not a wrestler, and pull it off great. And he does it well. But that is done perfectly the way it should be. The way they're trying to get Shayna Baszler over is she's this badass woman who beats up on women who don't know a damn thing about fighting, and it just makes Shayna Baszler look bad. It does. It really makes her look bad. Now, so let's talk about the XFL again for a minute as we continue on here, because there's not much else I can really say about this. DDP has his take on this. Earlier, like last week, The Rock was a part of a group that purchased the XFL for $15 million. DDP gave his reaction to finding out about that in real time when he joined the Wrestling Inc. Daily Podcast. Wow, I had a ridiculous amount of respect for The Rock on so many different levels, more than anything. If you ever watched The Rock stuff, like I watched him do a motivational talk off the top of his head, to the LA Lakers, he's a juggernaut to me. When I see something, I envision it manifested. He has that same ability, time, whatever. He's the biggest star in the world, and he's one of us. To me, nothing surprises me. You think the XFL was dead? You watched Ballers. One of the big things was the fact that he's trying to buy a franchise in the NFL, and they're trying to keep him out. So fuck with buy-in, and there's no question in my mind if he actually did it. Wow. He added that The Rock is the face and the kind of guy who can make the league work. Absolutely. Now, with The Rock being as popular as he is, as great of actor as he is, being one of the most popular guys in the fucking world, and honestly, if he was running for president this year, I guarantee a lot of people would be voting for him. Even if he said, you know what, I'm going to be independent, and I'm going to do this, this, and this, The Rock would probably get more votes than Trump, Biden combined. Just saying. That would probably be the first 50-state landslide of an independent. Just saying. But do we need to see The Rock all over the XFL? No. One of the things that hampered the XFL in 2001, other than the fact that it was god-awful, they threw it together. They took the parts that you needed to build a football league and put them together with Scotch tape. That's pretty much how they did with the XFL. But Vince McMahon tied way too much WWE into the XFL. From having The Rock cut a promo, The Rock showing up at half field, him being on TV multiple times. So many things they did wrong. The XFL this time, we were having, you didn't see McMahon. There was no ties to WWE. There was none of that. If The Rock's going to be there, it's fine if he shows up and you see in the press box, hey look, there's the owner of The Rock and his partners watching an XFL game. That is fine. We don't need advertisements for the XFL in 2021 or 2022 with The Rock all over it. He owns it. He doesn't need to be a huge part of it, as in being the face of it. Let other people be the face of the XFL. The Rock is The Rock doesn't do anything half-assed. I absolutely believe that. If he came in there, they know the numbers. That's why I look at when AEW came out, it was really awesome for the boys and the girls because it gave you another place to go. He said before talking about one of his employees creating another place for the indie wrestlers. One of the guys who works for me, Dylan, has a promotion here in Georgia. Anything you see that's vignettes that are kick-ass and different on AEW, that's Dylan doing it. His promotion he started 2-3 years ago. In the last year, he got promoter of the year and swept everything in Georgia because their stuff is amazing. It's really built up, and the average attendance is 500 to 600 for an indie that goes once a month. Those are big numbers, and the crowd was white hot. He keeps talking about other stuff, but yeah, he is absolutely right. The Rock does nothing half-assed. Nothing. And why would he? Why would The Rock go out there and do something half-assed? He strives on success. He strives on being great. He goes out there and he wants to be the best that he can be in any situation. Why would he go out there and make the XFL a half-assed attempt? No. The Rock had put a video out about him failing to succeed in the NFL, and now he wants to give talent who just were in the wrong situation or never going to have time in the NFL a chance to go out there and do something they love to do. Great to see what happens. I cannot wait to see what happens. See who comes back. Who is new to the XFL, with the way the college football season is going to be canceled this year. Maybe we see some talent from the college ranks who aren't going to be who are going to miss their final season of college because of the bullshit that's going on. Maybe they jump to the XFL to get a little bit more tape. Kenny Robinson did that. He left West Virginia because of, I think it was education. I think it was student problems or something. Went there, played those 5 games, and got drafted. So that could be something that we see as well. But this next one, my goodness. Seth Rollins really needs to keep his mouth shut. He talks fans criticizing WWE while the company may have lost a step. A step, Seth? A step. I think WWE has lost a whole goddamn walkway or two. My goodness, a step. He is currently involved in one of the highest profile storylines in the company, which is true. It's kind of funny because honestly, if you look at the Monday Night Raw spectrum, the 3 big storylines on Monday Night Raw right now are Seth Rollins, Rey Mysterio, and Dominic, Asuka, Sasha Banks, and Bayley, Drew McIntyre, and Randy Orton. And Seth Rollins and Rey Mysterio, in my opinion, feels like the story to talk about or watch on WWE television. It really does. Asuka with Bayley and Sasha Banks feels like it's just overload and just too much of the same shit. Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre, I just feel like it's missing something. I just don't know what it is, but it feels like it's missing something to make that. I mean, the crowd, outside of the crowd is missing on all of this shit. But outside of the crowd, there just feels like there's something to Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton that's missing. WWE announced that Seth Rollins versus Rey Mysterio eye for an eye match of Extreme Rules would have to end in one of the competitors taking his eye out. It was reported that the company would rely on CGI if it was expected to be a gruesome finish. Instead, fans saw Mysterio holding a ping pong ball dressed up to look like an eye. The $1 billion wrestling company had a lot of negativity light being cast on them in recent years as the ratings have been on a steady decline, which the pandemic roasted their ratings as much as they could. So after the struggle for his first time since taking over the company, Vince McMahon was receiving a ton of pressure from investors and shareholders to fix their issues and to do so quickly. Rollins recently spoke to BT Sports about the amount of criticism the company has received and how it impacts their mindset. He said, and I quote, "Everyone," and I'm not just talking about the wrestlers, Rollins said, "I'm talking everyone from Vince McMahon down, whether it's a production team member, a creative team member, an aide, writer, assistant, or anybody. We all take pride in our jobs. We all get into professional wrestling because we are fans, and this is something that we love. So when we get laughed at or made fun of by our hardcore audience, that puts a chip on our shoulder. I don't think that any of us take lightly the idea that we have lost a step or that things aren't what they used to be, or you can't do this or you can't do that. I can speak specifically for the locker room, and we are full of guys and girls that are extremely talented, extremely driven, extremely hardworking, and we do the best we can with the hand we are dealt. Sometimes, especially in 2020 with COVID, the pandemic, and quarantine, and everything that's been shut down, we backed up against the wall. So sometimes a situation like that is when the artists do their best work, when there is angst and frustration and some sort of need to prove others wrong. So all those situations you brought up are perfect examples of that. But it goes deeper, man. It goes all the way from the bottom to the top. Everyone is trying to make things work at the best we can. Oh, really? Really, you're trying to make the best you can. Retribution would like to have a word with you. Raw Underground would like to have a word with you. Both of these storylines are trash garbage. And this is WWE's desperation. WWE is so desperate for ratings, that they advertised on SmackDown this past Friday that they are going to have Shawn Michaels make his return to Monday Night Raw to confront Randy Orton. Why not Triple H? Where is Triple H in this entire storyline? It, in my opinion, would make more sense that Triple H would confront Randy Orton, but I guess because of Evolution buddies, they want to go with Shawn Michaels. Why would Triple H make more sense? Because Triple H was the guy who joined and formed Evolution with Ric Flair. Shawn Michaels has a lot of respect for Ric Flair, but Triple H considers Ric Flair as an equal, as a father figure, something like that. It just felt like it should be more Triple H, but hey, they want to go with Shawn Michaels. They're that desperate. Nostalgia works sometimes. Case in point, AEW this week, the highest rated portion of the show was the Young Bucks, FTR, Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson, and the Rock and Roll Express. By far. But this is the thing. How did AEW use the nostalgia? They used it the right way. They had Ricky Morton take a spiked power driver from FTR. If this segment would have happened in WWE, it might have just played until the sneak attack. It probably would have played out the same exact way. Then when FTR would go to attack the Rock and Roll Express, the Rock and Roll Express would turn around, block them, beat them down, and embarrass them. Because WWE thinks putting nostalgia acts over is going to keep the crowd happy. Whereas that is not the case. WWE continues to bury talent week in and week out. Apollo Crews won the U.S. Championship, won his match against MVP 2 weeks ago. And then this past week, what happens? He loses to Shelton Benjamin practically clean. And this guy has a title match against MVP next Sunday. This company just doesn't fucking seem to get it. This is always going to be just one of those things that WWE just doesn't get. But I can gripe about it. Anyone on this platform, on Stitcher, on Google Podcasts, on any podcast forum, can sit there and gripe about it, and WWE just isn't going to listen. Moving over to AEW, AEW has finally released 3 of their talents. AEW is parted away with Jimmy Havoc, Sadie Gibbs, and B. Priestley. The releases were finalized on Wednesday, according to Dave Meltzer. This is when the profiles were removed from the official roster page. All 3 wrestlers are from the UK, and it was noted that AEW hasn't been able to bring talent from the UK due to COVID-19. The fact that AEW has added a lot of new wrestlers as of late also contributed to the decision of releasing these 3. AEW President CEO Tony Khan noted a few months back that he did not want to release anyone during coronavirus pandemic, but there would come a time where they would have to make cuts if people couldn't travel into the United States. It was also said that when you keep adding talent at some point, there has to be cuts. The Observer added that Havoc likely would not be brought back due to allegations against him coming from the Freaking Out movement, which is why he was suspended before undergoing treatment for some time from some of those issues. Gibbs and Priestley were released mainly due to their inability to get into the United States for the tapings, and how it looks like they won't be things won't be changing anytime soon. Gibbs was reportedly brought in as a project in the sense that she wasn't ready, but she was a great athlete for a good look. There is no word yet on if there will be more AEW releases to come, but we will keep you updated. Now, I kind of figured Jimmy Havoc was not going to be coming back. I mean, how could you bring this guy back after everything that was accused of him, and him pretty much admitting him being a total douche and all this other stuff, and and he went to rehab? I just feel like they were going to let him go, and apparently in the state of Florida, because he lives in the United States, so that was not the reason why he was released. But I honestly could see, like in the state of Florida, apparently you can't release somebody or fire somebody because they're in rehab. It's against their law. It's against the state law, but yeah, so I figured Jimmy Havoc. Jimmy Havoc apparently is supposed to be retiring too. I think I read somewhere or heard something that after his stint in rehab, he's retiring from wrestling. So okay. Priestley and Sadie Gibbs. Like Sadie Gibbs, we only saw 1 or 2 times in her entire time in AEW. That's a damn shame. I figured they would use her a little bit more. Maybe when all this stuff's over with and we come back to able to have crowds, be able to travel between the United States and Europe, we could see Sadie Gibbs and B. Priestley rehired. Both of them put out statements thanking the company for their chances and everything. B also did state that she is going to go back to Japan. So if Stardom's doing shows, I'm sure she'll be on those shows. It's a damn shame. I'm a fan of B. Priestley since her WCPW days. And hope to see her back in AEW and Sadie Gibbs as well when everything hopefully can go back to normal sometime down the line. But we all knew it was coming. We all knew it was coming eventually. I mean, they're not immune, and it is what it is. Now, let's see here. Oh, yeah. WWE is moving into the Amway Center soon. Will this jeopardize or hurt their time going to the Amway Center? WWE reportedly had another round of positive COVID-19 tests last week. As reported, there was issues at the Performance Center tapings on August 4th. WWE had planned to tape 2 episodes of SmackDown and 205 Live, but ended up taping just 1 episode of each. It was noted then that the delays were due to problems with organization and possibly with how late the Raw tapings ran the night before. The delay led to WWE holding another taping on August, I believe it was Wednesday or Thursday, for the August 13 edition. In an update, last week's delay was reportedly due to more people testing positive for COVID-19. It was reported by PW Insider via 3 different sources that the second SmackDown taping scheduled for last week was nixed for the last minute because more positive COVID test results came back. WWE implemented additional COVID-19 protocols and put significant efforts into preventing the spread of the virus after a large outbreak in June. There's no word yet on who tested positive in the latest rounds of tests, but we're not going to find that out anyway unless people actually say, hey, I got the COVID, but WWE doesn't want anyone to do that. They want to talk for them, which is stupid. This is just WWE living their own bubble. They don't want us to know that who's testing positive, who's not. They just want to act like it's an inconvenience to them, and they don't have to worry about any of this, and it's going to backfire for them. Now, with the fact that they're going to this is something I don't get why they want to go to the Amway Center. I understand why Vince wants to get out of the Performance Center, Go to a beach. SummerSlam, in my opinion, on a beach would be fantastic. But WWE, in their last quarterly, even touted they made more money last quarter than they've had in their entire existence of being a publicly traded company. Why is that? Well, they don't have to rent out any buildings. Everything's done from the Performance Center, so cost is way down. But now they're going to the Amway Center, that cost is going to be going up. Then they're going to have to do a lot more than they would be doing in their own Performance Center. It just makes no sense. But it is what it is, and Vince McMahon wanted out of there as fast as possible. Now, if anybody watched NXT or you heard about it, the Velveteen Dream made his return last week. Velveteen Dream has been missing since TakeOver in Your House after the Speaking Out movement, and you had multiple accusers accusing him of sexual misconduct in, like, flirting or sexting minors. Well, apparently one of the accusers speaks out. The Velveteen Dream made his return this past week on NXT. His first appearance since June raised a lot of eyebrows due to the controversial allegations against him from earlier this summer. There have been rumors of Dream's release, but WWE apparently cleared him as he was brought back this week. One of Dream's accusers, Josh Fuller, took to Twitter this week and expressed his frustration over WWE bringing him back. Earlier this summer, Fuller used the hashtag Speaking Out movement to reveal how he was just 16 when he met Dream at an indie show while Dream was 19. Fuller claimed that Dream wanted to keep their relationship a secret and how they tried to get Fuller to show him his full body and allegedly promised to help get Fuller a job with WWE. Fuller also corroborated some of the claims made by Dream's other accusers. Fuller wrote on Twitter that no one from WWE contacted him for the investigation. It should be noted WWE has not commented on the investigation in the Dream and the allegations made by his accusers. There's no word yet on exactly what WWE found, why they brought Dream back, but I'll keep you updated later. He also tweeted, "I am still pissed." So, this is not good look for WWE. WWE did exactly what I thought they were going to do for probably a lot of their talent about the Speaking Out movement. They weren't going to do a damn thing. They weren't going to do no investigation. They would say, hey, we're investigating, and they're just going to let the Speaking Out movement blow over and then go back to business as usual. And that is exactly what they've done. WWE, now, they had to release some of these talents because they asked these talent, did you do this? The talent said yes. And WWE has to go, well, then we have to let you go. There's nothing we can do about it. And they had to let them go. Dream probably said, I don't know what the hell this person's talking about. And WWE's like, oh, that's fine. We'll just let this blow over. And then if they wanted to bring the Velveteen Dream back, this was not the time to do it. It would have been better if they put out a statement saying the Velveteen Dream, we take these allegations seriously. We're going to look into them and we'll keep you updated. Until then, the Velveteen Dream is going to be indefinitely suspended until further notice, yada, yada, yada. They didn't do that. They got the allegations. They feel they don't have to really do anything. They'll let the Speaking Out movement blow over, which it has. And then they're going to bring Velveteen Dream back like it's nothing. Yes, the Velveteen Dream did not win his match this past Wednesday, but he didn't lose it either. So he faces Finn Balor next week, with the winner going to TakeOver 30 on next Saturday to see who be part of that ladder match. Another slap in the face is if they have Velveteen Dream win next week. If Velveteen Dream wins next week and goes into that ladder match, that's just a slap in the face to anybody who accused him. And it's innocent until proven guilty, even though I know that's been lost in this country over the last 10, 15 years. Innocent until proven guilty. But if there's evidence that has been shown and WWE does nothing about it, how bad does WWE look in the end? What can I say? It's not our fault that WWE decides that they're going to go out there and do this. Is it appalling? Yes. Is it not right? Yes. Should WWE do a better job addressing this? Absolutely. Now here's the thing. If all of this came out to be bullshit, The accuser was lying, and Velveteen Dream is an innocent person. Why has WWE not said anything? Why has WWE kept tight-lipped about Velveteen Dream? They fired Jack Gallagher like that. They said they were going to investigate Jordan Devlin and all these stuff. Why are they so tight-lipped and didn't say anything? Velveteen Dream didn't put out a statement saying he denied any of this. It's like WWE wants to act like this entire accusation never happened. And I just don't understand why. It's kind of appalling. And it's stupid. Don't hold this shit back. Let us know what the hell is actually going on. Speaking of the Speaking Out movement, backstage news on who was in charge of WWE Creative during Marty Scurll's hiatus. As part of the deal to re-sign with Ring of Honor, in January, Marty Scurll took up the head booker duties for the company. Scurll was barely able to get going when the COVID-19 pandemic hit and Ring of Honor began canceling events in March. The Speaking Out movement transpired in June, and Marty Scurll's name was among those called out for sexual assault and abuse in the pro wrestling industry. After Scurll made two statements, Ring of Honor followed up with one of their own, saying they are launching an immediate investigation into claims made against his currently contracted wrestler. In the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter, it was reported that Hunter Johnston, aka Delirious, has returned to the head creative role for Ring of Honor. Scurll is on hiatus and has no Ring of Honor responsibilities due to the pending Human Resources investigation over the claims made against him in June. Since the investigation started, Delirious has taken over the main force of formatting, producing, and organizing Ring of Honor TV. Ring of Honor announced earlier this week. TV tapings will begin later this month in Baltimore. No fans in attendance, of course, and apparently has some major plans for what's to come. So hopefully something happens with that. Here's the thing. Ring of Honor has been out since March. They haven't done anything. They're about ready to get started. They promise that they're going to have, they're going to have major plans for what's to come with things that we haven't seen in professional wrestling under this pandemic. What are they going to do different? We have seen empty arenas. We have seen independent shows with fans in their cars, social distancing. We've seen everything under the sun for this empty arena era. What are they going to do different? I could not tell you one bit. Is it great to see Ring of Honor finally getting back in the swing of things? It is absolutely great for them. So that is going to be great for them. So we'll have to see what happens coming up soon. Here's a little bit of breaking news for you as we continue on here. And WWE signs WXW Women's Champion Amale, I hope I got that right, to NXT UK. Earlier this week, French wrestler Amale, or whatever, announced she has officially signed to WWE NXT UK. She is WWE's first ever French female professional wrestler. She wrote on Twitter, "Your new WWE NXT UK star, the first ever French female professional wrestler signed by WWE. Over the last year, she has wrestled in NXT UK several times. One of the latest matches was March 13th against Dani Luna. She made her debut wrestling in 2012. She is the current WXW Women's Champion. She won the title after defeating then current champion Toni Storm at Superstars of Wrestling 19. Here's my thing about this. We are in the middle of a pandemic thing, which is, I'm going to say now, a scamdemic. And WWE has not been able to produce any shows for NXT UK. Any, tape shows. Should they really be hiring signing new talent for NXT UK if they haven't even been able to do any shows because that's over in the UK and all their talent are contracted over in the UK and they can't do anything? Outside of course, Fabian Aichner and Marcel Barthel, who are actually the current NXT Tag Team Champions. It's great that they hired somebody new, I guess, but I just don't see the reason to be hiring new talent to NXT UK when that brand is kind of on hiatus. So I just don't see it. Let's talk about the attendance of the fans, quote unquote fans, at this past week's AEW taping, which we get their safety measures. One of the select individuals that was able to attend this past Wednesday's show has taken to social media detailing her family's experience at the show. Jessie Davin, who writes that she is an WWE, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and AEW fan in her Twitter bio, included both messages and pictures documenting the COVID-19 safety measures taken by AEW this past Wednesday. One tweet even has the video that shows a staff member working as a mask enforcer, walking throughout the crowd and ensuring that everyone kept their mask on. Groups of family were seated together, sections were laid out beforehand, and the rest were taped off. Mask enforcement was there, correcting people's mask placement the entire night. Parties were grouped together and socially distanced between each group. They had it planned out beforehand because they had to know who was coming. Do not let the camera angle fool you. I felt very safe, and so did my husband at #AEW. The limited crowd was shown on camera during this past Wednesday's broadcast, but only briefly. David mentioned that how AEW has continued enforcing it as a closed set for the everyday fans that they want to attend. They don't allow fans. I happen to have a very non-wrestling related connection that happened to get me this opportunity. It's still a closed set, she wrote. This past Wednesday saw numerous tag team matches taking place as part of Tag Team Appreciation Night, including successful title defense for the tag team champions. So, anybody out there who is bitching and complaining that AEW, how could they have people there, how dare you have fans there, shut the fuck up. Just like Chris Jericho and Fozzy had a couple of concerts in, I believe, North and South Carolina last weekend, and everyone bitched a fit because it was a concert with crowds at like 50% capacity, and nobody was wearing masks, and they were calling him a COVID idiot. Fuck off. Jericho and Fozzy took every precaution that they could. They didn't touch anything. They weren't touching fans. They weren't like high-fiving fans or anything. They sat in their trailer the entire time before and after the concerts. And here's the thing. Everyone's like, oh, how dare Jericho? He's going to get people at AEW infected. How could he be so stupid? Here's the thing. Jericho knows, just like anybody else with a fucking brain, that he gets tested before he can go into the building. It's that simple. You get tested. If your test comes back positive, guess what? Jericho would have to go home. That did not happen. Jericho's match with Orange Cassidy went off without a hitch outside of that finish. And that is that. People need to just get their shit together. People need to shut the fuck up, quit their bitching, quit their complaining, and just enjoy what you see. If you went to a concert and you got sick, that's on you. That's what it is. Give me a fucking break. If you're sick, if you feel like you have a stomachache, especially in this time, if you feel like you have a fever, if you have a sore throat, if you have anything that ails you, if you don't feel like you're fresh as a daisy, 110%, stay the fuck home. It's not that difficult. Really, it's not that difficult. If WWE wants to get fans back like AEW had quote-unquote fans, they need to take every precaution in the world. If they do that, then they can start maybe bringing friends and family in. And do it the right fucking way. But that is WWE for you. They are probably not going to sit there and try and take every precaution. I know, I guarantee you that somebody was watching AEW because of course people in WWE watch AEW. But somebody showed this to Vince McMahon, and he is probably having a fucking fit. Vince McMahon has made it wanted to be the first indoor sports, gathering of fans to happen. I know NASCAR has been having fans at their races recently, and WWE wanted to be the first one to do it indoors. And unfortunately, that ain't gonna happen. It's already happened in Japan. It's gonna happen. It happened in AEW as well. Vince McMahon is just gonna have to get over himself. Here's an idea, Vince. Instead of worrying about if you're gonna be able to get fans into the arenas, how about trying to figure out how to keep people entertained, keep people watching your show, so they're not switching the channel, and make the product better. guess what? The product sucks. It's going to suck until you change your fucking ways. It's that fucking simple. But that is going to be all for this episode of Unscripted, episode number 132. Hit that subscribe button, comment down below, like or dislike this video. Find me on Twitter at The France Club, find me on twitch.tv/The France Club, find me on Instagram at The France Club, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for another thrilling episode and the final episode of WWE inside the Performance Center until something happens at the Amway Center where they're forced to go back to the PC. I just see that happening. But until then, my name is The France, and I'll see you guys later.